I am Beth Gaston, and this is my husband, Bob.
We live in Ridgeland, Mississippi, and have been blessed with 4 children and 11 grandchildren. Last year about this time, we were planning our trip to Baton Rouge for Dining by Design, which happened to be on Beth's birthday. We were talking about important things like what to wear, where to stay, and which wonderful auction items to bid on. But before we could get to the event, our focus quickly changed.
On the night of August 12th, I woke up with such severe stomach pains that Bob took me to the emergency room. The trip to the ER led to a few days at St. Dominic's Hospital and news that we were shocked to hear.
Beth had a tumor covering 1/3 of her pancreas, and she had lesions on her liver. She was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. To complicate things a bit more, Beth had a sizable blood clot around her pancreas, which required that twice a day I give Beth injections of a blood thinner called Levinox. I hate needles, but I had to learn how to give these shots before we could leave the hospital.
The day after the diagnosis, my sister, Ginger Dunaway, who volunteers with Sister Dulce at Cypress Springs, asked Sister to see me. The first thing Sister told me was that my mother, who had died the previous February, was in heaven, and that she wanted Sister Dulce to take care of me. Sister rubbed her hands with oil, then placed them on my stomach. She asked Papa to use her hands to lift the pain and cancer. From the very beginning, Sister gave us hope.
When Sister laid her hands on Beth's pancreas, Beth felt some immediate relief. As the Lord lifted the pain and cancer, Sister's fingers turned purple, indicating that the cancer was coming out. She told us that Papa wasn't ready for Beth to come home. Things were going to be okay. Sister gave us the hope and encouragement we needed. Our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual journey with this cancer had begun.
My chemotherapy treatment plan began on September 10th. The treatments were every 2 weeks, and I spent 5 hours at the oncology clinic and went home with a chemotherapy pump to continue receiving the chemotherapy drugs for 2 additional days. The side effects were rough. In addition to the usual side effects of nausea, neuropathy, and hair loss, also came dehydration. We prayed a lot and asked God to help us get through these treatments. Many rosaries were and still are being said. Prayers poured in from all over the world. The sisters at St. Dominic's Hospital were praying, as were the monks on Vashon Island in Washington State. Friends walking the way of St. James were praying, and a Mass was offered in the Holy Land.
With lots of prayer, love, and support, we were able to get through these early treatments, and we never had to face any of this alone. Papa was always with us, and family, friends, and Sister Dulce were always there with help and encouragement. Friends, neighbors, members of our church parish, and people we hardly knew supplied us with food and lots of prayer. We were fed physically and spiritually. We knew we couldn't quit before the miracle happened.
On November 2nd, after 4 chemotherapy treatments, my CT scan indicated a decrease in the tumor size of approximately 30%, and the blood clot was gone. Dr. Graham, our Mississippi oncologist, was pleased and a little surprised by that good response. Chemotherapy and visits with Sister Dulce continued, along with daily prayers and meditation.
On January 14th, after 8 rounds of chemotherapy, Beth's blood test showed that her tumor markers were back in the normal range. The chemotherapy drugs were working. Once again, the oncologist was surprised.
After completing my 10th round of chemotherapy, a PET scan was scheduled for February 15th. In anticipation of the scan, we visited Sister Dulce on February 13th. We were feeling very anxious and fearful, but Sister told us, "You will be pleased with your new PET scan results."
On February 18th, we met with Dr. Graham, our Jackson oncologist. He entered the room smiling and said the PET scan was clear of all cancer. The pancreatic mass was not seen on the scan. There were no obvious abnormalities in or about the pancreas. There was no malignancy in the liver, and the pulmonary nodule was fine.
There were lots of joyful tears and prayers of thanksgiving, both in that office and with everyone who had been praying for us and helping us on this journey. Dr. Graham and our UAB oncologist, Dr. Navari, were happy, surprised, and somewhat shocked.
The doctors described Beth as an outlier and a patient population of one. We call Beth a miracle from Papa, the master healer. And as of the June 13th PET scan, which was also clear of all cancer, Beth is officially in remission.
Our first question was, what does God want us to do with this gift of extra time on this earth that He has given us? We are working on that now. Sister gave us hope and increased our faith when we needed it most. She showed us the power of prayer. Through her intercession, I am cancer-free. We give God all thanks and praise and remain very grateful to Sister Dulce and everyone at the Mercedarian Prayer Center who have helped us along the way.